You're listening to The Hardcore Truth, where the headlines get stripped down to what's real. No filter, no fluff, just facts, fire, and the kind of hardcore honesty that the world is missing. I'm your host, Logan Slaughter, and this is The Hardcore Truth. Hello, hi. Happy Wednesday. I have officially put out the first episode of The Hardcore Truth, and it's all about martial law and the Insurrection Act and a little bit of Project 2025, and really focuses on the government shutdown. Now, if you don't understand how this works, you record, you edit. It takes about a day or two to get things to where I want them at this point. And yesterday, while I was finalizing my editing, Politico dropped a bomb. And I was like, there goes the next episode I'm working on, because now I have to get this out, and I have to get it out quick, because what's going to happen is this is going to just drown in the news cycle. So here we go, and we're going to talk about it, because this type of shit has to be talked about. So yesterday, Politico dropped a bomb. It was a massive leak with thousands of private messages from young Republican club members across the country. And it's dark. Now, I have a personal tie to the Young Republicans of New York chapter, because when I was young, naive, and uneducated, probably 2008, I moved here in 2006, I remember calling my parents and saying, I'm going on a date. And they were like, oh my God, what are you going to do? And I was like, we're going to some Young Republicans of New York get together. And I remember my mother being like, what? And I had no idea. Like, that tells you how out of this world I was just in 2008. And I remember I went on a date to this Young Republicans of New York get together. And I remember walking in and being like, oh, I gotta go. Like, we're back in high school. So it's very funny for me to hear about this Young Republican club, and there's a couple of New York ties here, and it was just like trauma. Like I said, these texts are dark. I am talking racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, violent, disgusting shit. We're not talking about a few bad jokes in a bros group chat. This is months of people, some who already work in politics, joking about rape, slavery, gas chambers, praising Hitler, just bro shit. And now everyone is scrambling to say, oh, it was taken out of context, or we were hacked. Like, no, babe, you were exposed. Hacked and exposed are two different things. So let's unpack this mess. Who these people are, what they said, and why it actually matters far more than people want to admit. So here's what the fuck happened. Politico got their hands on thousands of Telegram messages from a chat full of young Republican leaders. Like, these are actual people who run state chapters, not Twitter trolls. New York, Kansas, Vermont, and my home state of Arizona. Shocking. It's a whole collection of baby GOP power players. And when you read through it, it's fucking vile. They're dropping slurs like it's 1939. They're making Holocaust jokes and talking about rape like it's a punchline. One guy literally wrote, everyone who votes no is going in the gas chamber. That's not edgy humor, because humor takes smarts. It's a window into who they really are when no one's fucking watching them. And here's the thing with these fat, straight, unfuckable, cousin fucking living in their mom's basement characters. They aren't outsiders. They are the next wave of young Republican leadership. They're the ones that are interning, staffing campaigns, working for lawmakers, shaking hands at fundraisers. This is the future of the party. And this is how they talk behind closed doors. Let's meet the cast of KKK characters. Let's talk about who's who in this racist circus. Top of the charts, like the KKK's Taylor Swift, Peter Giunta. He was the chair of the New York State Young Republicans. I probably met him. First elected in 2021 and re-elected in 2023, and worked as a chief of staff in the New York Assembly. His position in the New York State Young Republicans has given him the claim of being a central youth GOP actor in New York State. In his time with the New York State Young Republicans, he was able to grow the organization from 6 to 31 chapters. And a claim from his website, so take it with a grain of salt, is that donors old and new have invested over $500,000 into New York State Young Republicans under his leadership. He's the one who made that gas chamber comment. When Politico published it, he said it might have been doctored or I'm extorted. Sure, Jan. He did apologize. Your typical pussy, sorry to anyone I offended routine. But that job? Gone. Then there's Bobby Walker, Peter's right-hand guy in New York. What's most disturbing here is after the scandal broke, the New York State Young Republicans Twitter now names him as chairman, which would mean that he either elevated or inserted himself into the head of the young GOP wing where Peter had been. He called rape epic. You heard that right. Epic. Like it's a fucking Marvel movie. Too bad this fat fuck looks more like the Penguin than a Marvel movie villain. He also used every fucking slur in the book. After it came out, he said it was wrong and hurtful, but of course also hinted that maybe the messages weren't real. So which one is it, you fucking loser? Was it wrong and hurtful because the messages were real, or are the messages not real? Make it make sense. Math is not mathing. I'm an accounts payable specialist, and I can tell you this math is not mathing in your statements. And let's be real here. Racists are never going to admit what they did is wrong and just stop there, because accountability is just so hard. Then we head to Kansas, where the state Young Republicans basically imploded. Alex Dwyer and William Hendrix were the chair and vice chair. They were caught using the N-word, hard R, mocking LGBTQ people, throwing around 1488, which if you don't know, is straight up white supremacist code. If you don't know what it means, buckle up because it's not just some random numbers like a Taylor Swift album. The 14 stands for the 14 words, a racist slogan that says, we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. That's an actual neo-Nazi quote, not a lyric, and certainly not a fucking joke. And the 88, that's shorthand for HH, the eighth letter of the alphabet, H. H as in Hail Hitler. So when someone drops 1488 in a message, they're not being edgy or clever. They're literally echoing Nazi ideology. And these guys, people who hold leadership positions in a national political youth organization, are using it like an inside joke. It's not a dog whistle, it's a fucking bullhorn. When you see 1488 pop in a chat full of political operatives, you are looking at people who are comfortable enough with hate to turn genocide into a punchline. After the leak, the entire Kansas chapter has shut down. Hendrix got fired from his job working for the state attorney general, and that's fucking great because actions meet consequences. As I teach my 2-year-old and my 8 and 10-year-old nephews, every action has a reaction, and I want to thank Hal Slaughter for teaching me that. And Vermont, yep, even there, State Senator Sam Douglas got pulled into this. A sitting senator. Now this hits different because Sam isn't a young Republican wannabe posting memes from his fucking dorm room or mom's basement. He's a sitting senator in Vermont, an actual elected official. According to the leaked chats, Douglas was right there in the mix, laughing alongside the same racist, anti-Semitic garbage as the rest of them. At one point, he made a comment about an Indian woman, saying she just didn't bathe often. Yeah, a grown man in public office making racist jokes about hygiene. Pretty fucking classy. And it doesn't stop there. His dipshit wife, Breonna Douglas, allegedly jumped in the same chat and said, quote, expecting the Jews to be honest, quote. So now we're not just talking about bad politics. We're talking about open anti-Semitism in a sitting senator's household. Vermont's Republican governor, his own party's governor, called the comments disgusting and said Douglas should resign immediately. And honestly, that's the bare minimum. Because when you think about it, this guy sits in a chamber where he votes on education, healthcare, and civil rights. And meanwhile, when the doors are closed, he's mocking women of color and laughing at anti-Semitic slurs. That is not free speech. That is hate in a suit and tie. That probably is ill-fitting. What's wild is, these are the people that love to talk about family values and respect. But when the group chat leaks, you find out what those values actually look like. Racism, misogyny, and bigotry, wrapped up in a little GOP lapel pin. And the question isn't just what Sam Douglas said. It's what kind of culture inside this party made him think it was normal. Because if the people around him weren't horrified, if they were laughing along, then it's not an accident. It's a system. So here's the thing. We just went through who these people are, the chairs, the vice chairs, the so-called rising stars of the Republican Party. And when you look to see who's backing them, or in reality, try to look at who's backing them, it's like trying to find the end of a magician's scarf. It's also probably like some of these fat fucks trying to find their penis in the shower. You pull and it just keeps going nowhere. The donor trail, it's invisible, and that's not an accident. These young Republican groups, the training grounds for future politicians, they don't have to play by the same rules as real campaigns. No full disclosures and no public finance reports. They operate in this gray area where money can move freely, quietly, and without names attached. You've got cash trickling in from local GOP committees, national youth organizations, maybe even dark money PACs that specialize in leadership development. That's the kind of sanitized phrase that really means we'll fund you but keep our fucking names out of it. And here's where it gets messy. A lot of their fundraising claims to come straight from their own mouths, like Peter bragging about raising $500,000. Sounds impressive, right? Except there's no independent audit, no list of donors, and no receipts. Just a number on a website and a promise that the money helped grow the movement. Okay. And because some of these names are common, Bobby Walker, Alex Dwyer, even if you want to dig through a campaign filing, you need a microscope and a miracle to know which Robert Walker or A. Dwyer gave to what, to who, and from where. So yeah, it's opaque on purpose. The money moves through the middleman, local clubs, PACs, and nonprofits, friends of committees. That way, if and when something like this leak blows up, everyone can shrug and say, we didn't fund that, we have nothing to do with it. But here's the truth. You don't need to know the names on the checks to see what's being bought. This kind of secrecy doesn't just protect donors, it protects culture. It keeps the hate funded, polished, and rebranded as patriotism. It lets extremist ideology travel under the radar, from private chats straight to the public power, with a paper trail that vanishes the second you start to follow it. And that's the point. It's not about who gave them money. It's about who keeps letting them get away with it. Let's talk about why this is a little bit more than a scandal, the typical Wednesday in America, because we've seen the cycle. A leak comes out, people scream cancel culture, a few folks resign, and then nothing changes. But this should make everyone stop. This will show where people truly stand, because this isn't just Barbara in Mississippi talking shit on Twitter. These are people inside the political machine. They're the interns, the staffers, and the ones that are writing the talking points and shaping what the next generation of conservatives look like. And if this is the culture, if joking about gas chambers and rape is what gets you into that group chat, imagine what happens when they actually hold office. Because ideas, those become plans, which become things we read in history books. It's not about a few ugly words. It's about the normalization. Because once this hate is casual, it's not just words. It turns into policy. It turns into jokes on the campaign trail and into laws that target real people. We have seen this with the current administration. They have mastered the art of this. President Donneria should have been done the moment he mocked a special needs person. But they laughed. Fast forward to 2025, where we just gutted the entire special education department. And let's be honest, a lot of what they're laughing about is in the chats. It already shows up in legislation, anti-LGBTQ bills, the anti-trans rhetoric. These jokes are policy. They are without question not joking, and would take these words into action if given the go-ahead. Make no mistakes. These fat white fucks who live in their parents' basement want a world filled with them and only them. Sadly, if they get rid of the gays, where are they going to get their little dick sucked during Republican conventions? You could literally draw a straight line between gas chambers and the cruelty we see every day in Congress. This is how hate metastasizes. It starts as a meme in a private chat, then it becomes ideology, and then it becomes law. So after this article dropped, things moved very, very, very fast. Giunta fired. Walker on leave, aka probably gone. Kansas Young Republicans completely shut down, which is wild, by the way. An entire state chapter gone. And the National Young Republicans Board is now calling for everyone involved to resign. Some have, and some are doubling down. And the party? It's doing its best we're shocked and appalled routine. The most shocking part is, quite honestly, that by this point they're not idolizing them and making them into national heroes, giving them parades and days of remembrance. But are they shocked and appalled? Because we've seen this movie before. They'll act horrified for a week and then quietly move on until the next leak. Or even more so, what we're now used to is that this will be the news for 24 hours before we are flooded with more bullshit that forces us to move on. Meanwhile, the people targeted, Black people, Jewish people, queer people, women, are supposed to accept that the people writing laws about our lives think that we're fucking punchlines. So here's the part that really hits me. These are young people. These are not the old white fucks on the edge of death's door that we normally would associate this type of speech with. They're not boomers. They're not the old guard. These are 20 and 30 somethings, the generation that's supposed to modernize the party. But this right here was a peek behind the curtain. This shows those of us on the outside what the future really looks like in their eyes. If this is what's being taught, if this is what earns a funny ha-ha laugh and respect in their circle, then what future are we building? You can't rebrand hate. You can't polish it up and slap a suit on it and call it leadership. If you joke about genocide in a group chat, I don't care what your policy platform is, you shouldn't be anywhere near fucking power. So yeah, call it a scandal, call it a leak, call it whatever you want, but I call it a warning. The alarm bells should be going off like fucking crazy, because this isn't just who they were in private. This is who they are becoming in public. If we let this slide into yesterday's news as quickly as they want it to, we are fucked. And if we don't pay attention now, we will be calling them congressmen in 5 years.